This story is titled, My Brother Slept with My Fiancée and Got Her Pregnant. My mom blamed me and demanded I took care of the child. Hey everyone! If you're enjoying these stories and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel. Now let's start the video. OP starts by saying, growing up, it didn't take a genius to figure out who my mom's favorite was. It was Alex, my younger brother. It wasn't like she ever said it outright, but her actions made it glaringly obvious. The way she coddled him, praised him, and defended him no matter what. It was like he could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one. If anything went wrong, even if I wasn't involved, it was somehow my fault. Take the vase incident, for example. Mom had this expensive vase she loved, always talking about how it was a family heirloom or something. One day, Alex, who was maybe 8 at the time, broke it while playing soccer in the house. I was upstairs doing homework when I heard the crash. Before I even reached the scene, Mom was already yelling at me. Why weren't you watching him, Liam? You're older, you should have stopped him. I tried to defend myself, but it was useless. Alex stood there looking sorry, and that was enough for her to let him off the hook. She turned her full fury on me, ranting about how I needed to set a better example. I didn't even bother arguing after that. What was the point? It wasn't just about taking the blame, though. Alex got all the praise, too. When I achieved something, it was met with lukewarm acknowledgement at best. In 5th grade, I won a citywide math competition. I came home with my little trophy, beaming, ready to share the good news. Mom glanced at it and said, "Good job, Liam," before turning back to her cooking. A few months later, Alex got a participation ribbon at a soccer tournament, and you'd think he'd won the World Cup. Mom threw a pizza party for him, inviting family and neighbors over to celebrate. When I asked why she didn't do anything for my math win, she said, "Alex needs encouragement. You're older. You don't need that kind of attention." My dad, he stayed quiet through all of this. It wasn't that he didn't care. He'd give me these small, sympathetic smiles when Mom went overboard, but he never stood up for me. I think he was afraid of upsetting her, or maybe he just didn't know how to handle her intensity. Either way, his silence made it clear I was on my own. This favoritism didn't end when we got older. If anything, it became more pronounced. I got into a prestigious university on a full scholarship, a result of years of hard work and sacrifice. My mom barely reacted. She didn't even visit me on move-in day. I packed up my life, got on the bus by myself, and set up my dorm room alone. It stung, but I told myself it was fine. I didn't need her approval. When Alex got into a local community college a few years later, Mom acted like it was the greatest achievement ever. She threw him a party, complete with balloons, a cake, and a slideshow of his high school highlights. They even bought him a used car as a congratulations gift. I couldn't believe it. I had to bike 5 miles to my part-time job during high school and save every penny just to afford textbooks. When I asked why they never helped me like that, Mom said, "You're independent, Liam. You didn't need our help. Alex's situation is different." Alex's situation included dropping out after 1 semester, but Mom wasn't even upset. "He's just figuring out what he wants to do," she said. "He'll find his path." Meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs, studying full-time and barely scraping by. I didn't ask for their help again. I knew what the answer would be. Over the years, Alex jumped from one failed venture to another. He opened an online store that went under in a few months, tried starting an app but never finished it, and even dabbled in selling sports gear, which also flopped. Each time, Mom would bail him out, pouring money into his projects and assuring him he just needed to find himself. When I asked why she kept enabling him, she snapped, "He's talented, Liam. He just hasn't found his stride yet. We're his family. We have to support him." I didn't get that kind of support. I never asked for much, but even when I did, it was always the same response. "You're strong. You can handle it on your own." By the time I graduated, I had a chip on my shoulder the size of a boulder. I wanted to believe that my success would finally make her see me, but it never did. Every achievement of mine was overshadowed by Alex's failures and her relentless need to prop him up. It wasn't just the favoritism, it was the way it made me feel invisible. No matter how hard I tried, I was never enough. I could win awards, land a great job, and be completely self-sufficient, but it didn't matter. To her, Alex was always the priority. Dad's inaction hurt just as much, if not more. I knew he saw what was happening. He wasn't blind. But he never stood up for me. Never told Mom she was being unfair. His silence felt like betrayal. Looking back, I think I stayed quiet because I didn't know how to fight it. What do you do when your own mom doesn't see your worth? When your dad won't defend you? I thought if I worked hard enough, accomplished enough, it would change. But it didn't. By the time Emma came into my life, I was tired. Tired of fighting for recognition. tired of trying to prove I mattered. I didn't realize it at the time, but meeting her was like a lifeline. For the first time in my life, someone saw me for who I was, not who I was supposed to be. I met Emma at a party I almost didn't go to. Alex had insisted I come along, pestering me for days. "Come on, Liam, you're so boring. Live a little," he said. I'd just gotten off a grueling double shift at work, so the last thing I wanted was to hang around Alex's loud friends. But in a rare moment of letting my guard down, I went. The party was the usual kind of chaos Alex thrived in. Booming music, people spilling drinks, and a haze of cigarette smoke clinging to the air. I lingered near the edge of the room, sipping on a beer and counting the minutes until I could slip out unnoticed. That's when I saw her. Emma was standing by the kitchen counter, laughing at something someone said. She had this way of commanding attention without even trying. It wasn't just her smile, it was her energy, her warmth. She looked up, caught my eye, and gave me a small, curious smile. I'm not the type to make the first move, but something about her made me feel braver than usual. I walked over and awkwardly introduced myself. "Hey, I'm Liam, Alex's older brother." "Alex has an older brother?" she said, her tone playful. "He never mentioned you." I laughed. "That doesn't surprise me. I'm usually in the background." We started talking, and before I knew it, the party felt like it had faded away. We talked about everything, our jobs, our favorite books, even the dumbest movies we loved as kids. Emma was sharp, funny, and easy to talk to. By the end of the night, I felt like I'd known her forever. Before she left, I asked for her number. She smiled, scribbled it on a napkin, and said, "Don't make me regret this." Our first date was at a small coffee shop. I was nervous, but Emma put me at ease right away. She had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the room. I couldn't believe someone like her would be interested in someone like me. Things moved fast after that, but not in a chaotic way. It all felt natural, like it was meant to happen. We started spending every free moment together. Movie nights turned into lazy Sunday mornings, and eventually I asked her to move in with me. Living with Emma was the happiest I'd ever been. She made our tiny apartment feel like a home. We'd stay up late talking about our dreams, our plans for the future. For the first time, I felt like I had someone in my corner, someone who saw me, not just the version of me my mom or Alex defined. A year into living together, I started thinking about proposing. I saved for months, cutting back on everything I could. The ring wasn't extravagant, just a simple platinum band with a small diamond, but it was exactly her style. On our 4th anniversary, I planned the perfect moment. We went for a walk in the park where we had our first date. I was shaking with nerves when I got down on one knee, but Emma's face lit up with a smile that erased every doubt I had. "Yes," she said, before I even finished asking. I thought my life was finally on track. For once, it felt like I had something Alex couldn't take away, something that was mine. When we announced our engagement, I was hopeful. I thought maybe this would be the moment my family would finally celebrate something I'd done. But my mom's reaction was underwhelming, to say the least. "Well, congratulations, I guess," she said with a forced smile. My dad muttered, "Good luck," like he was half distracted. And Alex? He didn't say much at all, just stood in the corner with this strange look on his face. It wasn't happiness, it was something I couldn't quite place at the time. After that, Alex started hanging around Emma more. At first, I didn't think much of it. He was always the charming one, the one who could make people laugh. I figured he was just being himself. But as time went on, his comments started to bother me. "You're lucky to have her," he'd say with a smirk. "I mean, I don't know how she puts up with you, but good for her." Emma would laugh it off, telling me, "He's just joking, don't let it bother you." But it did. Alex's presence started to feel invasive. He'd show up unannounced, linger too long, and ask Emma questions that felt too personal. "Are you sure Liam's the right guy for you?" he asked once, half joking. Emma brushed him off, but I couldn't shake the unease. I didn't want to come across as paranoid, so I kept quiet. Looking back, I wish I'd said something sooner. Maybe it wouldn't have made a difference, but at least I wouldn't have felt so blindsided by what came next. After the engagement, life didn't feel as smooth as it used to. At first, I thought it was just the pressure of planning a wedding. Emma and I had decided to save up and pay for everything ourselves. We both worked long hours and skipped vacations to make it happen. I figured the stress was getting to us both. But something about Emma's behavior started to change. It wasn't immediate. It was subtle at first. She became quieter, more withdrawn. She used to tell me everything about her day, but now her answers felt clipped, like she was holding something back. Then there was her phone. Emma had always been casual about her phone, leaving it on the table or handing it to me when she needed me to check something. But now she kept it close, even taking it to the bathroom with her. If I walked into the room, she'd quickly lock the screen or flip it over. "What's up with your phone?" I asked her one evening, trying to keep my tone light. "Just work stuff," she said, not looking at me. Work stuff. That became her go-to answer for everything. But then she started coming home late. At first it was once or twice a week, and her excuses sounded plausible. Meetings ran late, she got stuck finishing up a project. But over time, her stories stopped adding up. One night, I waited up for her, watching the clock tick past midnight. When she finally walked through the door, she looked startled to see me still awake. "Long night?" I asked, keeping my voice calm even though my stomach was churning. "Yeah," she said, avoiding my eyes. "We had to finish a report, and then we grabbed drinks after. You know how it is." Except I didn't. Emma wasn't the type to grab drinks with coworkers, especially not without texting me. And the faint smell of wine on her breath wasn't from her usual go-to. There was also a subtle hint of cologne. Not hers and not mine. I wanted to believe her, but a nagging voice in the back of my mind told me something wasn't right. A few weeks later, I noticed other changes. Emma started glowing in a way that felt different. She smiled more, but it wasn't her usual light-up-the-room smile. It was smaller, almost secretive. Her appetite shifted, and she started craving foods she used to hate. At first, I thought it was stress, or maybe a new diet trend she was trying out. Then it hit me. She might be pregnant. I was over the moon. Sure, we hadn't planned for it, but it felt like a sign that our future was coming together. I wanted to wait for her to share the news herself, so I didn't say anything. I spent days imagining how she'd tell me, how we'd celebrate, how our lives would change for the better. One evening, she finally sat me down. Her hands were shaking, and her face was pale. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice trembling. I smiled, thinking she was nervous about telling me the big news. "It's okay," I said. "You can tell me anything." She took a deep breath, and then the words came out. "I'm pregnant." I felt like I was floating. "That's amazing," I said, reaching for her hand. But she pulled away, tears streaming down her face. "Liam, it's not yours." For a moment, I didn't understand what she was saying. The words hung in the air, incomprehensible. Then they hit me, and it felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. "What do you mean it's not mine?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She couldn't even look at me. "It's Alex's." The world shattered. I stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, to tell me it was a mistake or some cruel joke. But she didn't. "Emma told me everything, or at least enough to destroy me. She said it started at our engagement party. While I was busy talking to guests, Alex had cornered her. He told her she was making a mistake marrying me, that I didn't appreciate her. He'd played on every insecurity she had, planting seeds of doubt until she started believing him. "It just happened," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know why I let it." She tried to explain how Alex had promised her everything she thought I couldn't give. More attention, more affection, a better future. "He made me feel seen," she said, her voice breaking. I couldn't listen anymore. My chest felt like it was caving in. "Pack your things and leave," I said, my voice cold and unfamiliar. She tried to apologize, to explain, but I wasn't hearing it. By the time she walked out the door, I was left sitting in silence, staring at the life we'd built together, now in ruins. I called Alex that night. He picked up on the first ring, like he'd been expecting it. "What did you do?" I demanded. His response was as casual as if I'd asked him about the weather. "It was a mistake," he said. "It didn't mean anything." But when I pushed harder, his tone shifted. "Maybe if you were a better fiancé, this wouldn't have happened," he said, his words dripping with smugness. I saw red. I grabbed my keys and drove to his place, not thinking about what I'd do when I got there. When I pulled up, I saw my mom standing on the porch, arms crossed like she was waiting for me. My dad was next to her, looking exhausted before the confrontation had even started. "We need to talk," Mom said the second I stepped out of the car. "I don't have anything to say to him," I snapped, nodding toward the house where Alex was undoubtedly waiting. But she wasn't about to let me walk away. "He didn't mean for this to happen," she said. "Emma led him on. You have to forgive him. He's your brother." I stared at her in disbelief. "Forgive him? He slept with my fiancée. He got her pregnant. He's your brother," she repeated, like that made it all okay. "Family comes first." I looked at my dad, hoping for some kind of support, but he just looked away. In that moment, I knew I was on my own. After that night, it became clear that my family had already chosen sides, and it wasn't mine. For days after my confrontation with Alex and my parents, I avoided their calls. At first, I thought they'd let it go, but my mom was relentless. She left voicemail after voicemail, her tone switching between guilt-tripping and outright anger. "Liam, you're being ridiculous. You're tearing this family apart," she said in one. My dad called too, but his messages were softer, almost apologetic. Your mom is upset. We just want to sit down and talk this through. It wasn't reassuring. If anything, it made me angrier. I didn't need a conversation. I needed them to understand how deeply they'd betrayed me. And it wasn't just them. My mom started rallying the extended family. Before long, aunts and uncles I hadn't spoken to in years were calling, texting, even leaving comments on my social media posts. They all said the same thing. You have to forgive Alex. He's your brother. Families go through rough patches. You'll regret cutting him out. It was like they didn't even care about what Alex had done. No one mentioned the betrayal, the lies, or the fact that he had knowingly destroyed my relationship. Instead, they framed it as a misunderstanding, that I was blowing out of proportion. One night, I got a call from my cousin Katie. She's one of the few relatives I've always been close with, so I answered, hoping for some kind of support. Liam, I just heard, she said, her voice hesitant. Please don't tell me you're calling to defend Alex, I said. No, she replied quickly. I think what he did is disgusting. I don't understand why everyone is blaming you. I let out a bitter laugh, because that's how it's always been. Alex can do no wrong, and I'm the one who's expected to clean up the mess. Katie didn't argue. She knew I was right. I just wanted to check on you. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Her words meant more than I could express. She was one of the only people who saw what was happening for what it was, a complete and utter betrayal. But most of the family wasn't like Katie. They bought into my mom's narrative that Alex was the victim, that Emma had seduced him, and that I was overreacting by refusing to forgive them. My mom even had the audacity to suggest I reach out to Emma and help her through this. Help her? I snapped when she brought it up over the phone. That's your solution? After what they did to me? She's pregnant, Liam, Mom said, as if that justified everything. The baby is innocent in all of this. You can't just walk away. I don't owe that baby or them anything, I said before hanging up. But it didn't stop there. My mom started showing up at my apartment. The first time, she knocked on the door for nearly an hour before finally leaving. The second time, she camped out in her car across the street, waiting for me to come outside. It was unsettling, to say the least. I started taking alternate routes home and avoided going out unless I absolutely had to. But she wasn't the only one escalating things. One afternoon at work, I got a call from the front desk. Hi, Liam. There's someone here to see you. She says she's your mother. I froze. Tell her I'm busy, I said. Mom didn't take the hint. Instead, she started spinning stories to my coworkers. One of them, Clara, approached me later that day with a concerned expression. Hey, is everything okay? Your mom was here, and she said you were refusing to help your family. She seemed really upset. I wanted to scream. Instead, I muttered, she's overstepping, and left it at that. Things came to a head when Alex showed up at my gym one evening. It was my safe space, the one place I could go to clear my head. I was mid-workout when I spotted him near the entrance, that same smug grin plastered on his face. I ignored him at first, hoping he'd leave, but he didn't. Instead, he sauntered over to the bench press where I was working out. Well, look who it is, he said, leaning casually against the equipment. Still mad about Emma? I didn't respond. I put my earbuds back in and moved to another machine, but he followed me. Come on, Liam, lighten up. It's not like you were perfect. Maybe if you'd been a better fiancé, she wouldn't have come to me. My fists clenched, but I kept my focus on the weights. Admit it, he continued. You're just mad because I'm better at giving her what she needed. That was it. I turned to him, my voice low but firm. Get out, Alex. Now. He laughed. Or what? You gonna run crying to Mom? The next thing I knew, we were in a full-blown fight. I swung first, I won't deny it, but he shoved me into the bench before I could land another hit. The gym staff broke it up before things got worse, but I left with a split lip and a bruise forming on my shoulder. The incident only added fuel to the fire. Alex filed a police report, claiming I'd assaulted him without provocation. My mom backed him up, of course, spinning the story to make me look like the aggressor. It was the final straw. The next day, I filed for a restraining order against Alex and my parents. When they found out, Mom called, furious. How could you do this to us? We're your family. You stopped being my family the moment you sided with him, I said before hanging up. The court hearing was a nightmare. Mom cried, telling the judge it was all a misunderstanding. Alex played the victim, claiming he'd only come to the gym to talk and that I'd attacked him out of nowhere. But I had evidence. Texts, voicemails, and even security footage from the gym painted a very different picture. The judge wasn't buying their story. The restraining order was granted, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe. After the restraining order was granted, I thought things might finally settle down. I was wrong. The silence from my family didn't last long. A week after the court hearing, I received a letter in the mail. It was from my mom. The letter was handwritten, pages long, and dripping with guilt-laden phrases like, "You're breaking my heart," and "How could you do this to your family?" She went on about how Alex had made a mistake, how Emma wasn't innocent in this either, and how the restraining order was a betrayal. She ended it with, "We'll always be your family, no matter how hard you try to push us away." I tore the letter in half and threw it in the trash. But it didn't stop there. My relatives started calling again. Apparently, Mom had told them about the restraining order, but only her version of the story. In her narrative, I was the vengeful son tearing the family apart over a misunderstanding. "You're being so dramatic, Liam," my aunt said during one call. "This is just family drama. Everyone has it." Another relative chimed in with, "You can't stay mad forever. What's done is done. Focus on the baby. It's not their fault." It was like they all shared a script, each trying to guilt me into forgiving Alex and coming back to the family. None of them cared about the betrayal, the lies, or the emotional toll it had taken on me. The final straw came when my mom showed up at my workplace again, despite the restraining order. This time, she brought Alex with her. I spotted them in the parking lot as I was leaving for lunch. They were standing by my car, Mom waving her arms like she was lecturing someone. Alex leaned against the hood, arms crossed, smirking like he always did when he thought he had the upper hand. "Liam!" Mom called when she saw me. "We need to talk!" I turned on my heel and started walking back toward the building, but Alex's voice stopped me. "Running away again?" "Typical," he said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. I spun around, keeping my distance. "You're violating a court order," I said, my voice steady. "Leave, or I'll call the police." Mom looked offended. "We're just trying to fix this. You're being unreasonable." "There's nothing to fix," I said. "You chose your side. Now deal with the consequences." Alex pushed off the car, taking a step closer. "You're pathetic," he sneered. "You can't even face your own family." Before I could respond, a coworker came outside and quietly asked if I needed help. I nodded, grateful for the backup. Alex muttered something under his breath, but they both left before the situation escalated. That night, I realized I couldn't stay. The restraining order had given me some protection, but it wasn't enough. They knew where I lived, where I worked, and they had no intention of leaving me alone. The next day, I made up my mind. I was going to leave town, start fresh somewhere far away from them. Packing up my life wasn't easy. I sold most of my belongings, keeping only the essentials. As I packed, I couldn't help but think about all the times I'd tried to make things work with my family. The holidays where I felt invisible, the milestones they barely acknowledged, the constant comparisons to Alex. By the time I sealed the last box, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. I wasn't just leaving behind my family. I was leaving behind years of hurt and disappointment. Before I left, I called my cousin Katie to let her know what I was doing. She was one of the few people who had supported me through all of this. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "It's a big step." "I'm sure," I said. "I can't keep living like this, Katie. They'll never change." She didn't argue. "If you need anything, call me," she said. "And don't forget, you deserve better than what they've given you." Her words stuck with me. The day I left, I didn't tell anyone except Katie. I packed up my car, deleted my old social media accounts, and started driving. As I crossed the state line, I felt an overwhelming sense of freedom. I didn't know what my future held, but I knew one thing. It wouldn't include them. Emma's life fell apart faster than even I expected. Alex left her a few months into her pregnancy, disappearing without so much as a goodbye. He left her with no money, no plan, and absolutely no support. I didn't hear about it directly, of course. I'd cut all ties with my family, and I had no intention of reopening old wounds. But they couldn't leave me alone. Katie, my cousin, was the first to tell me. "Did you hear about Alex?" she asked during a rare phone call. "No," I said bluntly, already dreading what she might say. "He left Emma, just up and vanished. She's a wreck, and now her parents have disowned her because of the whole situation. They said she brought shame to the family." I didn't respond. What was there to say? Emma had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. But part of me couldn't help but feel a sliver of pity. As much as I hated what she'd done to me, I wouldn't wish Alex's betrayal on anyone. Katie continued, her voice softer. "She's staying in some cheap motel now, barely scraping by. Her family won't even speak to her. It's bad, Liam." I wanted to feel vindicated. I wanted to laugh and say, "Serves her right." but all I felt was a hollow ache, like the final chapter of a book I never wanted to read. Alex's disappearance didn't surprise me. He'd never been one to stick around when things got tough. But what did surprise me was how my mom reacted. Or didn't react, rather. "She's making excuses for him again," Katie said during another call. "She's telling everyone he just needs time to figure things out." Can you believe that? Of course I can, I replied bitterly. That's what she's been doing his whole life. But this time, her excuses weren't landing as well as they used to. Even my dad, who had always been passive, seemed fed up. Katie told me he'd started spending more time at work, avoiding the house entirely. "Your dad looks miserable," she said. "I think he's finally seeing the damage your mom's favoritism has done. But you know him. He won't say anything." It didn't matter to me anymore. I wasn't interested in what my parents thought or how they were coping. They'd chosen Alex over me time and time again, and now they could deal with the fallout. Emma's family cutting her off added another layer to the mess. From what I heard, they were furious when they found out about her affair with Alex. They'd initially supported her when we got engaged, but once the truth came out, they wanted nothing to do with her. Her dad called her a disgrace, Katie said. Can you imagine hearing that from your own parent? I could. In a way, Emma was experiencing the same rejection I'd felt my entire life. The difference was, she'd brought it on herself. The guilt tripping from my mom intensified after Alex left Emma. She called from unknown numbers, left voicemails, and even sent me emails. "You're still her fiancé in a way," one message said. "You should help her, Liam. The baby is innocent in all of this." Another email read, "Family means stepping up even when it's hard. I raised you better than this." I deleted them without responding. When I continued to ignore her, my mom resorted to sending other relatives after me. Aunts, uncles, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly started calling and texting. "You can't let Emma struggle like this," one cousin said. "She's pregnant, Liam. Don't be so cold." "She's carrying your niece or nephew," another said. "That baby needs a family." They made it sound like I was the villain for walking away. No one seemed to care about what Emma and Alex had done to me. No one wanted to talk about the betrayal, the lies, or the years of favoritism that had driven me to cut ties in the first place. Katie, as always, was the only one who saw things clearly. "Don't let them guilt you," she said. "You've done nothing wrong. This is their mess, not yours." Her words were a lifeline. Despite everything, I stayed firm in my decision to stay away. I knew that getting involved would only drag me back into the chaos I'd fought so hard to escape. Emma's struggles weren't my responsibility, and neither was Alex's absence. I kept my focus on rebuilding my life. Therapy helped me work through the lingering anger and resentment, and I found peace in the little things. Taking Max for long walks, exploring my new city, and meeting people who knew nothing about my past. Sometimes, late at night, I'd wonder how things might have been different. If my mom had treated me fairly, if Alex hadn't betrayed me, if Emma had made different choices. But those thoughts were fleeting. I'd learned that dwelling on the past only kept me tethered to it. Emma's story became just another chapter in the long list of reasons I had to cut ties with my family. I didn't take joy in her suffering, but I didn't feel obligated to fix it either. Life is about choices. Emma and Alex made theirs, and I made mine. For the first time in my life, I chose myself, and I don't regret it.